Did you know that water is the only drink that can quench your thirst? Drink Galilee Purified Drinking Water. Every bottle undergoes advanced scientific process to ensure a safe, clean, and pure bottle. So what are you waiting for? Drink Galilee Drinking Water. Every bottle is a labor of love.
Are you looking for a reliable security partner? Whatever your needs, we have the right team for you. King's Trooper Security Agency is your best partner in this ever-changing world. With our well-trained and equipped security personnel, King's Trooper Security Agency offers security force. Our troops will protect your assets with the highest degree of excellence. Executive protection. We are your trusted shield of protection and always there when you are vulnerable. Private investigation service, because we believe that security never sleeps. Security survey, to satisfy your security needs. Excellent customer service, because what is important for you is our responsibility. K9 unit service, to ensure minimize loss and maximize safety. CCTV installation, so that you can focus on tomorrow. Emergency response team, we have dedicated team with on-time response. Don't leave your future at the hands of change. Our troops never compromise for your safety and your assets. Choose King's Trooper Security Agency, the power to security.
We don't need to explain, because truth needs no justification. We are not afraid, because the truth will always win. When we ask questions, it's always for the good of all. We question to build, not to break. We question to clarify, not to confuse. We question to protect, not hurt. Truth hurts, but it heals. Tune in to SM&I, where truth is free. SM&I, defining true press freedom.
Welcome back to Business and Politics. We're talking to Atty Agnes Devanadera of Clark Development Corporation, the President and CEO. Can I circle back to the trip in Clark? Because that was the, I suppose, the infamous or misconstrued meeting. But there were some very concrete things that happened during that meeting that was not reported in the media. And we were talking about how, is that correct? Korea is very interested in the Smart City Partnership with Clark.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on that?
Well, actually, that proposal was submitted to the previous administration.
I see.
And
So
they picked it up. But, you know, with the pandemic, somehow it slowed down.
Right.
And now the Korean government picked it up again. And in my meeting with them in Korea and here, they're really very much interested. So what's the smart city and why is it different from from the others?
Sure.
It will be a city. It will be a community.
Okay.
There will be residential areas. There will be mixed use, so there will be shops. It's going to be a village. It's going to be a township. However, there will be so much use of technology.
Wow.
So it's a modern city.
Okay.
And that's what we need. That's what we're looking for. And I'll segue a little.
Sure.
We're reviving na yung Pilipino.
Wow, okay.
But in our revival of na yung Pilipino, the plan is to incorporate technology
Okay.
so that it will be enhanced. It's na yung Filipino by tradition, but with the interplay with technology, then our young people will be more interested to know more about history.
Right.
In the same manner, it's going to be a usual township
Right.
and in the smart city, but we will maximize the use of technology.
Right.
So when you see, we have heard about when even the control of the appliances in your houses, that's really part of having smart cities.
Right. And why is South Korea so interested in Clark? I mean, there are many,
Oh, yeah.
many economic zones, special zones in the Philippines. I guess the question is, why Clark?
Clark, because there are a lot already of Koreans there.
Okay.
In
I did notice
Pampanga
that.
alone.
Yeah.
In Pampanga alone.
Yeah.
And that includes the Koreans in Clark. There are 30,000
Wow.
already.
Wow.
So you have a lot of Korean towns.
I see.
And so, in fact, we usually communicate with the Korean embassy here in the Philippines
I see.
for the protection of their own citizens.
Right.
And so that's, I think, the reason why the Prime Minister is also very interested
Right.
in investing in Clark. And he was a little sentimental
Okay.
because he said that he would like really to invest in Clark because the first congressman during the Korean War who made a proposal to Congress to send troops and help the Korean government was the former president Dadong Macapagal.
Kong Dadong.
Oh. So for him, it's a payback. And they love Pampanga, for that matter, with 30,000 Koreans. What else
Right.
can you say?
Right. Right. Well, are there any other groups that are interested? But I think you were saying also that there's a follow-up to that meeting. There will be a mission to Clark?
Well, the delegation is coming next week.
Okay.
And the embassy, our Philippine embassy
Okay.
in Korea, has made already the formal communication with us.
Exciting.
So it's really something that's...
It's not just
yes.
promises. It's really
Yes,
happening.
it wasn't just something that to say because they had nothing to say.
Right.
It's in the concrete.
Are you getting inquiries from other countries? I know there's a lot of interest now in the Philippines. The president was just in Washington, and the U.S. is promising to send missions here. He's also been to Europe, right, and other places. Are you getting any interesting
we have to
inquiries?
give it to the president.
Okay.
We have to give it to President BBM
Yes.
for all the waves and the interest of foreigners investing in the Philippines.
Right.
Clark seems to be, high in the agenda of
Right.
some of the foreign countries because of the airport, the international airport.
Right.
You fly into Clark, you don't have traffic.
Right, you're right there.
Everything
Yeah.
is 15 minutes away.
Sure.
So we're able to entertain. There are a lot of interest in
Right.
Clark.
Right.
And we also show them that outside of Clark, there are other agents, there are other LGUs. And that's why we're saying that it's Clark and Metro Clark.
Right.
And that's
right.
how we do it now.
Right, and as good as it is, right, that things could always be better. We were talking earlier about one of those things, which is the create law, right?
Oh.
That's an unresolved issue. But maybe for those who are not following, maybe you can say briefly what the issue is and what Clark wants to happen with that.
Okay, the create law is something that's high in the agenda of the locators.
Right.
Why, when they came to the Philippines and they invested, they had a specific business model.
Right.
And any change in policy would affect the business model.
Okay.
Now, for the create, it's a beautiful law.
Right.
Really intending to protect the investors, at the same time give them a sunset provision
Okay.
for some of the incentives
Right.
that probably should be changed.
Right.
Something like that. And so under the CREATE law, the registered business enterprises, these are the locators,
Right.
would still enjoy the incentives with a sunset provision of 10 years.
Okay.
However, when the IRR was issued by the Department of Finance,
Right.
there seemed to be a disjoint
Okay.
between the provisions of CREATE
Okay.
and
The IRR.
IRR. So what is that? One particular aspect is on the VAT.
Okay.
When you import, you don't pay VAT.
Right.
You're VAT exempt.
Okay.
When you buy from the local,
Okay.
you're supposed to be something like exempt, but they call it zero rating. So
Okay.
no VAT also.
That's the law.
That's the law.
Okay.
So you are supposed to be a registered business enterprise
Right.
to enjoy that. That's under CREATE and that's under the previous laws.
Okay.
However,
The IRR.
the IRR said, distinguished, if you are a registered export enterprise, then you enjoy both the
Okay.
exemption.
Okay.
But if you are a registered domestic enterprise,
Right.
you don't enjoy the VAT exemption from the purchases here.
I see.
So we're saying that, hey, look, let's review. That's not a correct interpretation of the law.
Okay.
And we submitted, well, former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo sponsored a resolution calling for an inquiry into the implementation of CREATE and how the IRR was issued. And the chair of the Committee on Appropriations, where this was heard under the leadership of Congressman Salceda,
Right.
as you know, he is a leading economist.
Of course.
And one of the authors, and the main author of the CREATE law, said that that's not the way it was intended to be.
Right.
And so, together with the other locators and the other associations, we pushed for the revocation of that particular,
particular provision on VAT.
in the IRR.
Yeah.
Indeed, not all, but
Yeah.
only that particular
Right.
provision which is not supported by the CREATE law.
Right, and the implication is quite serious.
It
You're
is.
trying to tell me about how some locators are holding off on expansion. Is that correct? Is that I understand you
Yes.
correctly?
Because how much is VAT?
Right, 12%. Yeah.
So when you do your business model,
Right.
and 12% is eaten, that's probably your profit.
Right.
And so our locator said, some said that, okay, we will not do the construction, we will not do the expansion. The others, which are very disturbing, is we are seriously considering going to other countries
Wow.
where they are more consistent
Wow.
in their policies.
Wow.
But we're looking forward to that rectification.
Sure. Your position
of
is very
this.
similar to PEZA, I think.
Yes,
and
yes.
the other investment
We joined-
priority areas. Yeah.
Actually, we joined
Yeah.
forces already.
Right. So what does CDC hope to happen? Is it an amendment to the law? Is it an executive order? Is it revising of the IRR?
Well, it has to be just a revision of the IRR.
Just that simple.
Just recall
Okay.
the provision that does not conform or is not in sync with the provisions of the CREATE law.
Right. Well,
Yun lang.
So that's well, at this moment, the palace is now preparing for the president's second State of the Nation address. Are there any other things that CDC and other investment priority areas are looking from the palace, so that maybe you can actually pole vault in your development plans?
Well, it's really more of infrastructure support.
Okay.
For CDC, for Clark Development Corporation, we're lucky that we have all those big ticket infra
Right.
projects. So all roads, all rails, even the air, they are all directed to Clark.
Right.
Now, for the other IPAs, that's what we call the trade zones, the
Yeah.
free zones, I think similar efforts should be done.
Right.
Of course, what you're saying is Clark lacks the ocean.
Right.
We don't have the water, but that's the reason why we in the agenda of DOTR, there is the rail that will be constructed that will connect Clark to Subic.
Right.
Because we cannot order ocean anyway. So we might as well order the rail.
Right. Well, the trade-off there is you have an international airport, which
Yes.
no economic zone has.
Yes, yes. So those are the game changer.
Right. Now, I know that Subic is also under new leadership, but are they reaching out? Are you reaching out to them?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
there collaboration? Because that, as I began the segment, that the development is really that corridor, right?
Well, we have to collaborate,
Yes.
or we have to exchange notes.
Right.
We have to compare notes.
Right.
That's one thing. But the strength of one may not be the strength of the
Right,
other.
complementary.
Yes. So that complementation is important.
But do you think it's realistic to maybe aspire to be a pocket development and be like Singapore? Because you certainly have the area for it. Singapore is not that big. I think you're probably comparable in size. Do you think that is a realistic objective?
Clint, it may be a dream
Okay.
for some, but it's a dream that's attainable.
Wow.
It's a dream that may work.
Okay.
It's a dream that works. So one of the strong points in Clark are the facilities left by the Americans, which we have turned into tourism assets.
Wow.
Like the barn houses.
Right.
These are century-old houses of former officers
Right.
of the air base, American air base. The architectural design, they are preserved. There are certain buildings that you cannot change the design.
Right.
So it's the old and the new.
Right.
And technology.
Right.
So this is the boost.
You preempted me a little bit because I wanted to ask you about tourism, but before we do that, we'll have to take a quick break. This is Business and Politics. Please stay tuned.
Tama! Tumpak! Ganda ng programa, talagang makatutulong.
Mali, hindi naman lahat afford yan eh.
Setup to. Demolition job. I stand with Juan de la Cruz.
NPA yan for sure. Dapat nang mahuli. #Justice.
Tutol ako dahil pahirap lang ito sa mga low-income bracket.
Pabor! Panahon na para ma-improve iyong agri natin.
Dapat magigpit ang seguridad. Makita, saka alam mo kasi mayroong mga medical studies pala siya sa tao. Kaya naman,
Muling samahan ang ating mga bagong superhero, sina Norvin, Delilah, Jabari, DJ, at Saluka, Kingdom Force, Tagalize. Our 5 mighty animal heroes kasama ang kanilang mga super cool vehicle na kayang mag-combine para maging isang powerful giant robot. Samahan ang kanilang adventures tuwing Lunes hanggang Biyernes alas 8 ng gabi.
They're on a mission to save the nation.
Kingdom Force, Tagalize. Dito lamang sa SMNI.
The healthy way to lose weight. Edmark's Power Force Slimming Program. Step 1. Detoxify with Edmark Shake Off in pandan and lemon flavor. Fast, effective colon cleansing. See result after 6 hours. Step 2. Burn fat and nourish with Edmark's Meal Replacement Therapy. Organic formulation with low calorie, balanced nutrition, aids in losing weight and burns fat. Step 3. Balance and cleanse with Edmark's Plena Liquid Chlorophyll. Purifies the blood and balances pH. Step 4. Rejuvenate with Edmark's Ginseng Coffee. Energy Booster lowers blood pressure and memory enhancer. And Red Yeast Coffee. Cholesterol Buster. Anti-aging and prevents heart disease. Edmark Pasay franchise located at Empire Center, ground floor, EDSA Extension, Pasay City. For inquiries, contact Miss Bing at 0995-480-1026.
Stay with Edmark. Feel good now.
watching SMNI. Welcome back to Business and Politics. Attorney Agnes, when people think about Clark, tourism, admittedly doesn't come to mind. We think about Central Luzon being the breadbasket, right? But it's interesting that it is now at, a priority in your development plan. Could you talk about that? Because as you said, there are many Koreans now, but they're not the only foreigners there. But what does Clark, and maybe to a larger extent, what does Central Luzon have to offer?
Yeah, that's great. Because in Clark now, we have the 5-star hotels.
Right.
That's the thing that makes Clark different from the other areas, from the other Freeport zones.
Right.
Because we have developed the population, that's
Right.
key.
Right.
Population in Clark and immediately around Clark, then we have, and of course with the international airport and the P2P connecting us to Terminal 3 here in Manila, then we have those who would like to stay in hotels.
Right.
And we have the very good hotels. Of course, we also have the casinos.
Right.
And the golf courses.
Right.
So I guess these are the elements.
You have all of the
Yes.
the ingredients,
Yes.
right?
These are the elements, the ingredients
Yeah.
that make Clark ready for tourism. And it is. We have parks, open spaces, and we have the century-old trees.
And I hope I'm not repeating myself. You have the international airport.
Yes, and we have the bike lanes.
Right.
So you want something free, you can come. Go to our parks. We have picnic tables. And you'd see that, especially during weekends. The usual Filipino way of going to picnics,
Right.
they bring their calderos and, of course, Tupperware. So you'd see, and when they open the trunks of their cars, you'd be touched because they bring out the bicycles of the kids
Right.
and of the oldies.
Wow.
So it's something that has become a tourism destination. But tourism meaning local also.
Right.
Our
Right.
local people go.
Right.
So we will maintain that all the parks can be picnic grounds
Right.
for free.
Right.
And that will be the offering of Clark.
Right.
Of course, we cannot give you free tickets to the hotels
Right.
and to the restaurants. And we have a lot of restaurants. We have a restaurant draw.
Hey, it's interesting. I heard one of my friends say that one of the interesting things to do in Pampanga and that area is a food tour. Have you been to those food tours?
Yes, we always
okay.
have that. In fact, that's part of the package.
Culinary tourism.
Culinary tours, yes. And if you'd see, we have different kinds. But the Kapampangan food, as you know,
Yes,
is something
well-known.
that, it's very well known. So these are the things that you go to. But we need more.
Right.
And I think it's because we have all these facilities that, we started to formalize our place and niche.
Right.
Insofar as the plans of the Department of Tourism is concerned.
Right. The DOT, which you just now mentioned, recently came out with its National Tourism Development Plan.
Yes.
Is Clark part of that plan, or what are what is the role that you play in that plan?
Very much part of the development plan of DOT.
Okay.
Aside from the fact that we tried to be very aggressive by submitting our bid for the holding of the MICE conference in 2024.
Wow.
MICE meetings, incentives, conventions, and events.
Right.
So we pushed and we presented and we won.
And you were saying earlier when we were talking that the League of Municipalities had their convention there.
The League of Provinces
League of
had their
Provinces.
convention there.
Okay.
And the opening remarks of Governor Susan Yap was very telling. She said that, we wanted to host it in Tarlac. However, we don't have the 5-star hotel like Roy's. Yes. And if you'd see the latest among the hotels that were put up, Roy's has a huge lobby.
Right.
And it's almost like a ballroom,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And that's the facility that we should have in place for us to succeed as a tourism area.
Right.
But aside from what we have the zoo.
Right.
We have, of course, as I said, we have the golf courses.
Right, right.
And
which is under new management, I hear, and supposedly doing very well.
There are
yeah.
four.
Oh,
four
okay.
big golf courses.
Oh, wow, okay.
And they are, like for example, people from Korea.
Okay.
When
They love to play golf. Yeah.
They love to play golf, and when it's cold there, they come in plane loads.
Right.
And they just play golf.
Right. Wow.
And they leave. They stay for 2 nights, and they just go.
Wow.
So all these things move. All these things move the economy within.
Right.
And all these things has transformed Clark not just as an industrial park, but our investment haven, but also a destination for tourists.
Right. And you were saying that bid that you gave, it's because you have the facility, you have the convention center,
Yes.
you have the hotels.
Yes. And we have the partnership with the LGUs.
You have the LGUs.
So it's Clark and Metro Clark.
I see.
So even in terms of preparation of materials, the
Right.
brochure,
Right.
we do it together.
Right, right.
So that's how the partnership grows.
Does it
within
help that you were formerly president of the League of Municipalities, that you are old friends with these mayors?
Yes.
Because really it's to promote Clark, you really have to promote the region, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It helps a lot that I was with the local government units, and I know the language they speak.
Right. You were formerly mayor. Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah.
so in terms of packages,
Right.
we always ask the hotels that to give the government groups a good corporate packages.
Right. No, I remember during President Duterte's time, they were thinking about Clark as like a government center. In fact, CDC has a number of MOUs, I understand, right? With or is it BCDA? I'm getting confused now with a number of different government agencies.
Yes. Well, for Clark, we just had with the OTR,
Okay.
the Department of Transportation.
So that's still in the work. I mean, that's still the plan, or has there been?
No, they
change?
went there,
Okay.
but they also had to leave and
Okay.
come back to Manila.
Okay.
Maybe because we're not really that ready. If
Okay.
it's bringing in a whole workforce.
Right. Right.
Because you're practically relocating.
Right. Right. Right.
But for tourists, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. And what other when you're talking to I suppose the domestic audience, what kind of I know you're talking to foreign investors, but who would you like to visit Clark? I mean, is it a real estate developer, or I know that you're focusing on IT, right? What do you need?
Well, we actually have two groups, no?
Okay.
We already have a regular investment forum in Clark.
Okay.
So where we present the entire of it and the investment priorities and so for the investments, it's both.
Okay.
You'd be surprised. We have a lot of Filipinos
Right.
who would like to invest.
Right.
And we are getting investors from the Philippines.
Right. And the
itself.
issue before was that, of course, ease of doing business. Is that also one of the perks in going to Clark? Do you make it easy for them?
Well, one of the first issues I had to address was really an implementation of the ease in doing business.
Okay.
And sometimes you'd see that it will just you will just have to reorient. It's really a reorientation of our workforce in government, because it's step by step. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. There is no such thing as what is the objective.
Okay.
So jump to the objective.
Okay.
That's one part. It's the mindset.
Right.
The other part is automation.
I see.
It's we just need to automate, and the mindset will also follow.
Right.
It cannot be it cannot be a problem that we should solve like the chicken or the egg.
Right.
But it should be at the same time. We
Right.
talk about mindset. We talk about the automation.
Right.
And I'm seeing a lot of improvement even within Clark, within the office.
Right.
Because we are the LGU.
Right.
Like, it used to be 71 signatures.
Oh, okay. And now it's half of that, or
Yeah, well,
please don't say 70.
it's not 70, but it's it's half because
Okay.
of the automation.
Okay. And we were talking earlier that you've had some success because you remitted how much to the national government?
Well, for 2022,
Right.
We had an increased collection towards the end of the
Okay.
year, and we remitted 1.2 billion
Wow.
as dividends to the national government
Right.
from a low of 700. Of course, we had the pandemic also, but now we installed towards the end of the year. Last year, we started to install the revenue monitoring system.
Right.
It's an app. And for the first quarter, we're seeing the great difference. Our revenue collection for the same quarter of last year, this year, it's up by 43%.
Wow. Wow.
So we're seeing, it's really a confluence of so many things.
Right. Oh, what?
Including the revenge
Travel.
revenge travel,
Right.
revenge spending.
Right. But is there anything that worries you? You know, there seems to be a lot going for the Philippines domestically, but the problem seems to be coming from abroad, right? The inflation, all of these geopolitical issues. What's keeping you awake?
All
of these things.
all of these things, but we will not be able to solve
Okay.
all of the problems.
Okay.
Problems of the world and problems of even my office.
Okay.
So I always tell my people, let's be very strategic and remain focused.
Okay.
Because we solve not one by one because there are too many.
Right.
But we solve related problems together. So that's what I call a strategic way of solving problems.
Just spoken like a local chief executive. We'll be right back with the President and CEO of Clark Development Corporation, Atty Agnes Devanadera. Please stay tuned.
Narito na ang programang magtutuwid sa mga baluktot na paniniwala, mga usaping dapat malaman ng taong bayan. Ang tunay na boses ng mamamayan. Walang kinatatakutan, walang pinapanigan, kundi ang katotohanan lamang. Dito sa Laban, kasama ang bayan.
I, Rodrigo Roa Duterte, former President of the Philippines. Former Davao City Mayor. Well-loved Filipino public servant. Talks to the nation once again with its popular public service program, Gikan sa Masa, para sa Masa.
I look forward to the resumption of my original program way back, Gikan sa Masa, para sa Masa. Great expectation. Everything that is relevant to the lives of the Filipinos, issues that will affect our everyday, whatever, anything under the sun.
Catch it live weekly on SMNI.
In the spirit of nation building, only here on SMNI.
Muling samahan ang ating mga bagong superhero, sina Norvin, Delilah, Jabari, DJ, at Saluka, Kingdom Force, Tagalay. Our 5 mighty animal heroes kasama ang kanilang mga super cool vehicle na kayang mag-combine para maging isang powerful giant robot. Samahan ang kanilang adventures tuwing Lunes hanggang Biyernes alas 8 ng gabi.
They're on a mission to save the nation.
Kingdom Force Tagalized. Dito lamang sa SMNI.
Did you know that water is the only drink that can quench your thirst? Drink Galilee Purified Drinking Water. Every bottle undergoes advanced scientific process to ensure a safe, clean, and pure bottle. So what are you waiting for? Drink Galilee Drinking Water. Every bottle is a labor of love.
Welcome back to Business and Politics. We're talking to Atty Agnes Devanadera. Let's talk about your leadership, because it's pretty unusual that you've had many firsts, as I mentioned in my introduction, and yet we know that the positions that you've held were pretty much offices that are male dominated.
Yes.
What is it? Does it matter, or some people say that it's more the person rather than the gender? But what's your take?
I've been asked many times.
Okay.
Some of my bosses would say, "Oh, she's not much of a lady.
Okay.
She's tough."
Okay.
But I think it boils down to focus.
Okay.
And sensitivity.
All right.
And whether you call the sensitivity to be innate in women,
Okay.
it works for me.
Right.
Being sensitive about the environment.
Right.
And there's one philosophy that I always follow.
Right.
Putting people first.
Right. Right. And what advice would you give to the younger women who, of course, will be watching this? People who read about you, I'm sure they also aspire, for leadership positions. What can you tell them so that maybe they can have a similar success?
Well, for me, get to know about yourself.
Okay.
And be confident.
Okay.
And don't take the gender as a
Okay.
weakness.
Okay.
But you should give importance to the other attributes of a woman.
Okay.
And one, I think, really is the sensitivity.
Okay.
Sensitivity to the environment, to the people. And number one, really, is you have to develop your people skills.
Okay.
That's one thing. In fact, that was put to a test.
Okay.
When I entered CDC,
Okay.
of course, most of the people prior to me were in the military or uniform sector. And when I came in, I was met with a very big problem, which is a labor unrest.
Okay.
Within CDC itself.
Okay.
And in fact, in my first flag ceremony, I was tipped off that most people would be wearing black because there are
as a
unions.
boycott, yeah? Okay.
Protest right away. Well, again, maybe it's sensitivity also. I wanted to convey that I'm with them, so I wore black.
Oh, okay.
On my first flag ceremony, I wore black, but I had a ribbon, a yellow ribbon. That would signify that there's going to be light somewhere. And so when my first statement was, why are you not all in black?
Okay.
I am in black because I want to be one
to
with you.
sympathize, yeah.
So something like that.
Right.
And I am very happy that the people in Clark Development Corporation welcomed me and accepted me, and we opened one another's mind.
Sure.
And we were able to solve the labor unrest.
So what was the issue? What were they concerned about?
Of course,
Is it something?
compensation.
I see.
And it needed the approval of a government agency.
I see.
So we focused on that government agency,
Okay.
which I am grateful that they saw that it should be favorably acted upon.
Right.
And so we were able to increase the
Right.
compensation and have the package approved. Of course, there's a next problem. How do we sustain
Okay. You've set
that
the bar
kind of
very high,
compensation?
Yeah.
So the corporation has to earn.
Right. And are you optimistic about that, or?
Yes.
Because we have all of these issues that are global, right? And they say it's not the Philippines, but really what the Philippines has to deal with.
Well, I am very optimistic.
Okay.
For as long as there is communication,
Okay.
and it can be shown that we are together in all the fights at all fronts.
Right.
So right now, I feel that we are one
Right.
with the locators, and the locators are one
And are you
with.
Are you also
with
at
us.
one? Do you feel similarly with the national government? You were formerly with the cabinet, right? You worked with the Department of Transportation, the Department of Tourism, and DPWH, of course. I mean, you know how it works. Has it been? Have they been as receptive as you need them to be?
I'm really happy to say that they are very receptive.
Okay.
No matter how high
Okay.
the cabinet members, whenever we go, probably not just because I used to be a cabinet member,
Right.
but because they are very receptive to what local issues are brought up. I consider myself local.
Right.
Are brought up to them.
Right.
We've been talking with the DTI,
Right.
with Secretary Pascual, and then Secretary Frasco, of course,
Right.
and of course Secretary Bautista, even E.S. Bersamin,
Right.
Secretary Laguesma. Well, I've been doing around.
What about work-life balance? I know you've been in politics and in
yeah.
government for a long time. How do you deal with that?
Well, because I'm based in Clark, and the
Okay.
environment is so good,
Okay.
I'm able to walk.
Okay.
But the real life balance
Okay.
for people of my age
Okay.
are the apos.
Okay.
They really
Your
give
apostolate, huh?
Yes, my apostolate.
Okay.
They give me the real life balance.
Okay.
And so I devote extra time for them. Extra in the sense that I take pains in doing my schedule.
Right.
To make sure that I have time with my grandkids.
Right. Well,
They
because
give me a lot of joy.
I remember when with Mrs. Arroyo when she was president, it was really hard work, and you were right in the middle of that. But I'm glad to hear that you were able to carve out some time for
Yes.
yourself and for your family.
Yes.
Okay.
And, I'm inviting everyone to come to Clark.
Okay.
You'd see the environment, the green environment.
Okay.
And it's good for walking, it's good for the health. You cannot see the particles of pollution.
Right.
You don't have the traffic there.
Right.
That's it. It provides a good life balance.
Right. It's interesting because I've been privy to some of the development plans for the airport, and I'm glad to see that there are allocations for green spaces. And
yes.
They're not industrial.
Yes.
And I assume that's also been synchronized, I suppose, or
Yes.
matched with the larger area
Yes.
of Clark. Or is
Yes.
that correct? Or?
Yes. We have the land use plans,
Okay.
and fortunately for SIAC
Okay.
and us and CDC, we have more or less the same master planner.
Right.
So because we're just side by side,
Right.
and for New Clark City,
Right.
they have a very good master plan too.
Right.
And one thing is, we have identified that not everything should be buildable areas.
Right. Right.
So that's how to maintain the green.
Right. And do your grandchildren appreciate that when they come and visit? You mentioned the zoo and
Yes.
other things, the picnic areas. huh?
Yes. The kids love to be there. And one thing is, I think that this is the safest community because we are a fenced area.
Right.
So,
Right.
When you have the peace and order, when you have the green environment,
Right.
what else can you ask for?
Right. And as you said, there's much more that you can do when you don't have the traffic congestion to deal
Yes.
with. Yeah. And I noticed that there are also schools being developed in
Yes.
in that area. Some universities are also
Yes, we have.
trying to develop. Yeah.
No, and there are already existing schools.
Already there, yeah.
We have UP, we have Ateneo, we have the Science High School.
The new sports development. High
Yes,
school,
on
yeah.
the other side,
Yeah.
yes. And we have the international school, like International School of Singapore.
Okay.
And another one is coming in.
Okay.
So, in terms of these facilities,
Okay.
it's a good place for families.
But you
to
haven't
grow.
forgotten Sampaloc, Quezon.
Of course not, because I was born there, and my son is mayor there.
Right, right. So what advice do you give the next generation? I mean, whether they're going to politics or they're going into business, basically people who are going into leadership positions, what do you tell them?
Actually, it's so difficult to advise young people because they're different.
Okay.
But one thing should be the same,
Okay.
which is you must find your niche.
Okay.
Everybody has a niche in this whole wide world.
Right.
Find your potentials, find your talents, and harness them.
Right.
And make sure that the career or profession that you get into is something that you enjoy,
Right.
something that will give you fulfillment because you're able to help other people.
Right. No, it's interesting. Some people who consider careers in politics, they are intimidated by the loss of privacy. People, visiting them even early in the morning before they wake up, and then you have that other part, the technocrat part, right? That sometimes you lose that touch, right, with
You're
the
right.
people. How do you balance? Because you've been in both, right?
Yes.
How do you balance that so that you still are able to maintain your mental health and have some privacy and
Well,
family time?
I was born in politics.
Right.
That's one.
Okay.
So that people knocking at your door is something that's part of my way of life.
Okay.
When I was little, I didn't know that rice could be cooked in small pots.
Okay.
Because we were always cooking rice in big pots.
Right, for
and there
people,
were always people around during meal times who are not members of the family.
Okay.
And so that one of the policies in our house is that when you go to the dining table, you must be dressed.
Okay.
Because there surely is. Now, maybe this is why I'm a little bit different from my dad, because my dad was really politician through and through.
Like the prototypical
yes.
man of the masses.
Yes, but I was doing a lot of things that he was doing, like
Okay.
bringing people to hospitals. But one thing is, and that's what my father said, develop your skills in
Okay.
management. And so he prodded me actually to get higher education.
Was it
That's
difficult?
why I got into law.
What was it difficult? I was going to ask you about that. Was it difficult to maybe focus on politics and public service and you did not have your own practice? You passed the New York State Bar, which I hear is one of the toughest bar exams.
Yes,
in
I
the
used
world,
to. Well, I wanted to go to and practice in New York,
Right. So you sacrificed that.
but there was the EDSA revolution.
I see.
So I told my would-be partners, bayan na muna,
Okay.
time to stay.
And
So-
are there any regrets?
No, not
Okay.
at all.
Okay.
It has always been something like this.
Right. And what is your outlook? I mean, you've been in government, you've been in politics. Where do you see the Philippines now? Are we in a good place? I mean, are you concerned about anything at all? Or is there anything that you would like to tell our national leaders? Not just, of course, the president, but there are, people in Congress and others in government. How do you see things, and what would you like to tell them?
At all levels,
Okay.
there is resiliency
Okay.
of the Filipino.
Okay.
We meet a lot of big problems.
Okay.
But the way we solve it, it's probably, it's not in accordance with books.
Okay.
It's always
Our own style. Huh?
our own style.
Yeah.
And one thing that we should always really have is the love for country. When we have it, well, it will be manifested differently.
Sure.
differently. But somehow, somewhere, that will stand, and the resiliency of the leader will always be there. I have so much and great belief in the Filipinos as leaders at all levels.
Well, President Agnes, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I really appreciate you coming to the studio and making time. But before we go, would you like to leave a message to our audience?
Clink, I'm also thankful, very grateful that you invited me. And considering the fact that it was your dad that I used to work with.
I'm sorry to disappoint.
And no, you're very much your own. And so for all the people who are out there, we'd like to invite you to come to Clark. You can either look at investment opportunities, or you can look at just relax. Just have an R&R. And you'll be happy that you will be with nature, and that you will be in a very peaceful place where everything is 15 minutes away. And make sure that if you're considering an airport, come to Clark, because when you get to the airport, it's a warm welcome, and it's a very, very exciting welcome that will await you there. So welcome to Clark.
Oh, President Agnes, again, thank you very much. I'd like to thank our viewers watching this program and those watching the replay. I'd like to thank also Pastor Apollo Kibuloy for making this program possible. This has been Business and Politics. I'm Dan De Klinkang, and I'll see you next week.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Did you know that water is the only drink that can quench your thirst? Drink Galilee Purified Drinking Water. Every bottle undergoes advanced scientific process to ensure a safe, clean, and pure bottle.